at your redneck workshop. I'm Harold. If you remember in the last exciting episode, I took my little mold for making knobs and decided that I wanted the top to screw onto it. So I threaded this piece, and you can see the threads. And I got another chunk of metal here, and I tried threading the inside of it to screw onto here, and I very nearly made it work. I mean, it didn't work, but it came close because I messed up the threads on the inside some. They were all rough and such. So I decided that I'd start over. And I started a big enough piece of metal here that I can start over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to cut out the inside of this side. And I'm going to thread it running backwards and see if that doesn't work better. I ordered me a tool from Shores that was just right for that. So that's today's little job project. Of course, before we do that, we're going to get another amendment to the Constitution, and then we'll get on to this guy. This is the Fourth Amendment. What we're going to do today. This may not be of interest to you if you're not a U.S. citizen. May not be of any interest to a lot of U.S. citizens, but it's the Fourth Amendment, which is a very important amendment, and it's one of the three that's under a lot of attack these days, like the first and the second. The Fourth Amendment reads, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." Okay, now we've got whole parts of the government that's keeping track of your emails, your text messages, whatever. And I feel like that's not really legal. If the guys writing the Fourth Amendment had been able to foresee the internet, text messages, and emails, they would have included that amongst their papers and effects. And unreasonable search means you shouldn't be out there accumulating all my text messages and watching where I go by tracking my cell phone and stuff like that. There's just a lot of things that these days the government has exceeded their rights on doing, and all in the name of safety. Well, I'm not sure that we've got enough terrorists to go around for everybody in the first place, and I think we can find them, stop them, without searching every guy that comes along, reading everybody's email, snooping at this rate. They think they can't, but you know, it's always easier to have a special thing to make your job easier instead of working hard. I don't know. I'm going to kill this. Well, here I am making video with a stupid iPhone, which I don't like to do, but I already got my dirty shoes on, and I don't want to take them off to go in the house and go upstairs and get my video camera. So what we got here is a bucket of swarf, aluminum shavings, and I saved them up like that to put in my foundry and melt down. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, it'd probably be better if I turn these into ingots well before I get around to casting something, because I don't want to try stuffing all that into a hot crucible right on top of everything else. So that's one of the things I'm going to do today, is to make some little molds for ingots, so I can melt that, stuff it into actually stuff it in the crucible and melt it down into ingots, and they'll be ready for my next casting project, which shouldn't be too much further off if I can make myself work. Okay, so there's my crucible. I figure I should make the ingots a size that would set down in there about right. So that means that well, probably a 10-inch ingot would not be too tall. As you can see, that 10 inches, a little bit taller. Of course, there's some bottom length for the crucible, but looks like the crucible is 9 inches deep. So I suppose I'll make it 9 or 10 inches, the mold. That way I can just set them in there. They won't hang over the side a lot, and things will work out okay. I had to get a longer rod, so I'd have to stop 9.5 inches. As you can see, that rod's too small for the saw, but it's working. I'm going to have to obtain a little bit bigger piece so that I can make a longer rod there. Sometimes it just turns out to be too short. But I'm going to make about, I would guess, 3 of these things, maybe 3, maybe 2, and we'll weld them up. Alright, I figure that's big enough to hold whatever I'm likely to have left over, or whatever I'm likely to melt out of all that swarf. And I put a little saw blade there to give an angle to the side of it so that I can get the aluminum out once I've got it cast. Although I expect the aluminum will probably shrink anyway, but you know, belt and suspenders. Alright, so now to get the welding machine and start to tack it all together. And I'll lift the door a little bit because of the cancer in California thing. Well, there's good planning. I tacked that stupid blade to the to the side when I was fooling with it there. Yeah. Put a little bead right down there where the blade comes through. So now I gotta knock the stupid blade out of there. That's what you call good planning. Alright, so I'm going to bore out this end of the thing and start all over with the threading. And I'm just going to show the beginning and the end of the boring so that I don't bore you with all the details. But in case you never saw this before, this is a boring bar. And I've got it set pretty near the center of everything there. And I'm just going to bore a hole in here, a 1/2 inch deep and 1 3/4 inches minus the thread size stuff. And then we're going to try threading it with my new tool from Shars. So having said that, I'm going to turn off the camera and do the boring part of the boring all by myself here. I can talk to myself, you know. Oh, there's one thing that I was thinking about the other day. It was somehow reincarnation come up, and I was thinking about what would I want to be if I wanted to be reincarnated. And I got to thinking, I think I'd want to come back as Randy Richard, you know, because he always does everything really neat and keeps his shop nice and neat. And I'd like to have that, you know, tendency toward being neat about things. Of course, I wouldn't have the mustache. Not that he ain't doesn't strike a fine figure with his mustache and all. It's just I'm not a mustache kind of guy, you know. But yeah, I better get on. All right, this is my brand new threading tool from Shars, and what I'm doing is I'm running the chuck backwards. I'm coming into the other side to the back side of the hole, and I've not set my compound on 29 degrees. I got it set straight on with everything, and I'm just going to advance the tool in, make a cut, advance the tool in, make a cut, and that's the way I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's right or wrong or what, but I guess it might work out. We'll find that out here shortly, won't we? Okay, so I guess here goes nothing. I've got some dial indicators set up to kind of guide me, but who knows what will happen. I need to back this off and test it one time without the tool near to the cutting surface, just to see which way it's going to go. Move right about like that. Okay. Everything's all right. I think I'm still a little fast. I'm going to slow it down some. After I remember, I'm not actually a machinist. I'm just an old redneck, and I need to make every attempt to make everything come out just right for me. So squirt a little juice in there, and this time really, here we go. Wouldn't look at it when I stop, but get the thread gauge. I don't know where the thread gauge is at. I'll bring you guys back when I find it. Okay, I've actually got it set on 16 threads. I'll back it up a little. Right back in there. And that indicator's on 0. It's still just a little bit fast for me, I think, but I guess I've got to get accustomed to it, don't I? Well, that did pretty good, it looks like. Everything's back to the first set point, so I think maybe it's going to work. I'll bring you guys back later because you're making me nervous. Alright, I thought I was probably in far enough, so I'd better stop checking. I was very lucky I did, because there we are, it fits. So I definitely didn't need to thread any deeper, and it may have a little slack, but that's okay. Once I get a lot of plastic coated on it, it'll probably be good to have a little bit of slack. So I'll show you what my setup is here. I've got a dial indicator here that I knew that I was at the bottom, and I've got this guy here, this sterret set up so that I would know if I was feeding back to the same spot every time. So that's great to see it finally worked out, and running the lathe backwards helped me to cut a right hand thread in a backwards redneck manner. So it still is nerve-wracking. I need a shot of moonshine, I think. Okay, so let's cut off the side that was a failure, and we'll be all set up for threading the hole. I think a 1/2-13 would be a good thread, and I'll make a little nozzle, a 1/2-13 to go in there, but it'll be a part of the actually it'll be a part of the injector. So anyway, let's just cut her off and get it over with here. We're about ready to move up to making the end to go inside the injector. Probably take a little bit to get this metal hot, but that'll be alright. We got a lot of electricity. Measured that pretty good, didn't it? Alright, we'll be back. Alright, so that moves us right on along. We're down to the point now where I've got a cap that will screw on to this mold in place of the cap that was just sitting on top of it. We'll use this one to screw on here. I think you can see that. Screw this guy on. Well, that burned it on all thumbs now. But anyway, you screw this guy on and you screw him in, and then I'll make a plug to go right here in the end of this. It'll have a 1/2 inch 13 threaded nipple sort of sticking out. Screw this onto the bottom of there. When you press the melted plastic through, it'll fill the mold. You can unscrew the mold, unscrew this little fella here, and take your knob out. One of the things that I have to do still is to put a hole here and here for a pin type wrench, and of course I'll put a hole there so so I can use the same wrench for both of them, just in case I needed to unscrew the top of the mold from there. But I think this is a more versatile way of doing things and more convenient all the way around, and I think it'll work out a lot better. So this is all we've got time for this week. I'll get back to working on putting the bottom in that, and then putting the heater bands on here, and building a mount to go on the side of my hydraulic press where I can set this up. There's no use in me building another framework to hold it off the floor when I've got that pile of metal already built. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and please leave a comment, and remember, just keep on keeping on. Okay? I appreciate y'all viewing, and y'all come back.